All right, today we're talking about how one company embraced the revolution in AI in order to reinvent and reignite their business. My guest today is Christine Westbury. I'll tell you more about her in a second, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show, and you know, if you've listened before, that every week I get to talk to smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs from all kinds of companies. We've had Netflix and Grubhub, Gusto, Kinko's YPO, EO, Activision Blizzard, Lending Tree, lots of great episodes in the archive. So go check those out. And of course, this episode brought to you by our company Rise 25 and our company product podcast Copilot, where we help B2B businesses to get clients referrals and strategic partnerships with done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. You can learn more at our website, rise25.com, or email us at support@rise25.com. All right. I want to give a quick shout out to Ben Ridler of The Growth Shop, thegrowthshop.com. He was a guest on this podcast. I always ask my guests who are good people that I should be having in this show. And he introduced me to today's guest. And 18 months of following up with her later, we've got her on the show. But we'll explain why it took a little while to get that one scheduled. There's a few changes and pivots that happened in that time, which is always the fun stuff we like to hear about. But Christine Westbury, she's the CEO and founder of Blackjet Social, which is a marketing agency specializing in AI and automation for B2B companies. And we're going to hear about her new product called Blackjet Autopilot, which is a lead generation system. Christine, so great to have you here today. And you have a winding path of entrepreneurship, and I love to hear those stories. But first of all, you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. You're actually, we met through the EO community, and you come from a family of entrepreneurs. You've got four members of your family who are in EO, including your father, who was an entrepreneur. What was it like as a kid? Growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, was that something that was interesting to you? Did you know at a young age you would want to go into founding your own company?
Yeah, hi John. Lovely to be here. Coming from a family of entrepreneurs is really interesting. When I was growing up, I remember spending a lot of time in the car with my family as my dad would be driving the country, setting up his business. So I feel that I got to see a lot of the effort that he put into developing that business in the early stages. And then I also ended up going and working for my dad for 7 years after graduating at university and having some agency time. So I got to work alongside my father in his business, which was a really good experience.
And what was his business? What did he do?
What his business was home tech, and they had the New Zealand franchise for the Solar Tube Skylight, which is a product which comes out of the US. And he brought that down into New Zealand in 1992, set up a franchise network across New Zealand, and then he actually sold that to a publicly listed company, also an EOA, later on in his journey. So I think that was about 7 years ago that he sold the business and exited.
Wow.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
And what was it like working for your father in the family business?
We had a lot of fun. I guess we actually used to speak a lot about the dynamics. So he was very much the entrepreneurial vision. And then I would often be the one who would say, hey, what if we did it like this, or if we slowed it down a little bit, or how could we put some systems and processes around it? So we had quite a nice balance, and yeah, we got to do some really great trips as well. So traveling the US and traveling New Zealand, and what was it like working with my dad? Also, he would just tell me how it was, which is very much a trend of our father-daughter relationship. Even now, I might ask him for a little bit of experience share around something that I might be struggling with, and sometimes he'll just tell me to get on with it.
And did you know at a young age that you would one day want to start your own company? Was that something that you saw in your future?
Absolutely. Yes, I definitely wanted to start my own company.
And
And
and and you actually you had gone to a private school, and explain this to me. You'd go to a private school that said that you couldn't go to study business. Was that just sexism, or what was the explanation behind that?
look, I might get myself in a little bit of trouble for this if anyone from my school is listening to this again, but it's
Oh,
not like,
we have a big
yeah,
listenership from your school, so
yeah,
I should you should no, I don't know if anyone will be listening to this.
no. And I was, I, had I struggled a bit with school. I found that it was very restrictive. And at the time, I think I was about 3 years out from graduating, and I said to the school, look, I actually really want to go to university and study business and marketing. And they said, well, you can't. And I said, well, are you sure? Because I feel that if I don't want to do my final year of university, of school, sorry, and I just want to go straight to university, surely that's an option. So I went out and found out how I was going to get university entrance. I put my head down for a year and got the grades that I needed to get. I finally applied myself at school, which all my teachers had been telling me that I needed to do, and got the university entrance, went to university, loved university, graduated at 21, and
And you
um,
actually had started a dance school while you were at university. We had 150 kids coming to school, and that even tell me the story, because I guess you had a dance partner. You were taking this very seriously, training 40 hours a week, but that dance partner decided to go off on their own, and so you decided to start the dance school because of it.
yeah, I was a competitive ballroom and Latin dancer throughout my high school, and we were competing across Australasia. We'd be traveling across New Zealand to get training. And so, yeah, we were spending a lot of time together. And then sadly, that partnership ended. We weren't romantically involved, but we were very, very close. And I wanted to continue on dancing. So I decided to start a Latin dance school, and this was pre-social media at the time. So I walked the streets with mailbox drops, just saying that there would be a new 6-week subscription, which is interesting when we think about the business that I'm in now. A subscription-based dance school where you would pay up front for your 6 weeks, you would bring your partner, and you would learn how to do ballroom dancing and over that period. So we had about 150 students a week coming, and I employed a few of my friends and my sister to help me teach. And yeah, that was a really fun time until I graduated university and decided I needed to go and get a full-time proper marketing job, which I went and did after that.
Do you regret that you didn't stick with the dance school?
It wasn't conducive to the part of the time of my life. I was engaged at that point, about to be married. We just bought our first house. I didn't really want to work until 10 p.m. in the evenings. I wanted to spend time with my
Yeah.
soon-to-be husband,
It's funny how
and also,
those lifestyle issues really make a big difference. Like, we have a family friend here who she teaches piano lessons. And when do you teach piano lessons? She has a young kid. When do you teach piano lessons? After school, when your kid is home from school, and on the weekends, and it can be tough on, on the lifestyle with the, having family time. Um, you ended up also starting later a maternity activewear business after having, I believe, after having your first child. Is that right?
yes, that's right. And that didn't go very well. I didn't really try that hard. I just imported some products to New Zealand and tried to sell it on social media, and it didn't work.
So that's interesting, because then later you end up starting a food manufacturing business. This is clean mixes, and social media was kind of the secret sauce behind that. So what point did you do kind of crack the code, or how did you figure out how to sell the food business in a way that you hadn't figured out how to sell the activewear business?
So this was in 2017 that I started the food manufacturing business. And what it was for the listeners is a premix to make bliss balls or muffins, which was all gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free. And I had seen this trending overseas as a product, but nobody was really doing it very well in New Zealand. And they've been selling a lot of them with social media. So I thought, well, I'm not from the food business, but I know marketing. So I'm going to manufacture this product and I'm going to sell it on social media. And within 4 months, we were using third-party manufacturing, and within 9 months, we were using third-party logistics to distribute the product. We got our first supermarket store within 5 months. And to answer your question around how we did it by me showing up on social media every day, sharing the journey, showing how we were making the product. The highs and lows of and a lot of really good quality content as well. And we got content creators to create recipes for us. And we were very consistent with our email marketing as well back then.
It's also interesting because there's kind of a common thread here because your father had started a business after looking at trends, something that had been popular in other countries, bringing it to New Zealand. And it's kind of the same thing you did as well, seeing the trend, what was popular elsewhere, and then bringing it in.
True. I hadn't really realized that, but there is a trend.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. And so you do that for a few years, and then you actually sell that business right before COVID hits.
November 2019.
Wow. You must have seen something coming. So is it just coincidental timing?
Coincidental. Yeah.
Do you regret it, or do you think are you glad that worked out that way?
That business taught me a lot. I had highlighted that there were some things that business needed that I wasn't going to be able to offer it. And at the time, I also had a very young family, a 2-3-year-old and maybe 5-6-year-old. So it was a busy time of our life. My husband also is an EOer in his own right. So he has his own recruitment business. That was really busy too. He started that when our firstborn was 3 months old. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a busy time of our life. Yeah. It really wasn't the time for me to be traveling the country, trying to drive this business harder. And so when COVID came, we were in a beautiful position where I was able to just enjoy the time with my family because I wasn't working. And
yeah, that's fortunate. And you soon had people coming to you and asking if you could do for them what you'd done with social for the food manufacturing business. So this is, I assume, like mid 2020 or something like that. You tell me a little bit about how you end up getting into that business.
Yeah, mid 2020, a few people started. One of them is also my sister, who is an EO as well, who asked us to do her social media. And then it just spiraled from there. And I freelanced for essentially a year to 2 years. I think we took on our first full-time employee a couple of years in, where we would do social media for any kind of business, really. And we were being quite specific in that we didn't do digital ads as well. We didn't do websites. We were very just social media only. And it started to evolve from there, in that we started to notice some trends in the types of businesses that we were working with, the types of businesses that we served really well. And we started to pivot from being working with any kind of person in social media to realizing we really wanted to work with service-based businesses. And since then, we've refined our niche even further.
And it's interesting that you you chose service-based businesses because you had come from food manufacturing, where there's a physical product, you can demonstrate it, you can create little user-generated content, or you can create video tutorials and stuff like that. Tell me about that decision to go into helping service-based businesses.
One of the things that I noticed was that it was a relatively hard niche to work in that not every agency has got the skill to be able to understand a complex service-based business, particularly if you're dealing in financial advisory or recruitment. There's some real nuances in the ability to build trust, authority, and create content in those niches. And so, and also service-based businesses are really consistent as opposed to product-based businesses. You're often that your client might say to you, oh my gosh, we've sold out of that product. Meanwhile, you've created all of this content and you can't actually use it anymore. So where I have really wanted to build a very stable business. And so I've proactively looked for specialist niches that nobody necessarily, sorry, I shouldn't say nobody, but not a lot of people want to work in potentially, and also businesses that are really stable, like recurring revenue businesses.
Okay, so then I believe it was November of 2022 or December 2022 when ChatGPT comes out. And I remember reading about it on Twitter, I think within a few days, because it just exploded so quickly. People started talking about it. Um, Take me back to that period of time when that came out. Did you have a similar type of experience with it where you saw it, or did it take a couple of months before you realized the impact that this could have?
I was probably slower, but within 1 or 2 months, I had a ChatGPT account. I
And,
remember
and by
going
the
on.
way, in my defense, let me also say that when COVID hit, I was totally like, "Oh, this ain't gonna be any big deal." My wife is like stocking up like food and stuff like that. She's like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be serious," and I was like, "Nah, it'll be fine. It won't last very long." So I try to make up for it with ChatGPT, I guess.
So you're very on
Exactly.
the
Exactly. I was ChatGPT. I was like,
demonstrating
"That, oh,
value.
this is gonna be big. This is gonna be big."
Yeah. Well, I think it was Easter, so it would have been March, April, just after it had launched. And I was on a flight from Wellington to Brisbane, and it was the first time I'd had uninterrupted time to just play with ChatGPT. And I played with it for the whole time on that flight. So I think it's 3 to 4 hours long. And I got off that flight just thinking, oh my gosh, I am completely brain fried. I have just rewired my brain in a whole different way of working that I never even thought was possible. And this is going to completely change the way we do content creation and the way that we run my business. Yeah.
Because it was going to make it easier to create content, or what? What were you
Easier
thinking
to
at that point?
create content, to
Okay.
write and in those early days we used to run what we called it an AI incubator. So I came back to the office, and at the time I had a team of content creators, and they were responsible for writing the social media content
Mm.
and scheduling it. And we put together an AI incubator where every week we would come and we would go, right, what is the thing in our business that is taking the most time, and let's target that with finding a way to reduce it through ChatGPT or other tools. And we ended up creating a library of prompts. I've still got those prompts because this was back in like 3.0 days, right? So
Right.
it
Yeah.
wasn't as
So many tools have
sophisticated.
developed just this is, I think, a year and a half ago now. So a lot of tools have developed since then.
Mm. And
Yeah.
we ended up building some other prompts and kind of like secret sauce stuff. So we were really training it on our way of working. So we were able to get something that would be so close to having been created by a human at that point too. And it just needed a little bit of a tweak.
Yeah.
But it was quite a bumpy ride through that time for my team. They were freaking out. I had a person on my team who was starting to refuse to use it, like didn't want to know about it because
Mm.
I identify as a content writer. I
Because
and
people were feeling threatened by it.
threatened by
Yeah.
it. And also we ended up with a whole bunch of capacity. So we ended up having to kind of pivot on what we were going to do. We had more capacity, so we needed more clients.
And
Yeah,
and and why
turbulent.
was that? Was it because there's kind of like at the same time a little bit of global economic slowdown? Was it because your competitors were starting to utilize this tool, and so you had to be competitive with what the content they were creating? What was it?
It's a really good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I think it was a combination of things. If I look back, I think we were struggling because we were doing just a single product and solution. And then we became really, really efficient at doing that. And so I had a bigger team, and we had people kind of starting to twiddle their thumbs a little bit. So
Mm,
I had to make a decision on what we were going to do. Are we going to go and find more clients? Do we need to restructure? Do we really need, three people in content creation
right.
anymore?
When all of a
Um,
sudden you can put in a prompt and boom, it shoots out, 4,000 word essay
and
or
starting to really look at,
4,000 tweets or whatever it is you want to get. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and starting to look at what the skills we really needed in the business too. Is
Right.
it, it's probably more strategic, as opposed to
Right.
outputs. So,
And so what happened? What did you do next?
yeah, you can see there's kind of a little bit of hesitance in this part, because if I look back at that, so that would have been 2023, was when we started. So they all left. My whole team left.
They all just up and left?
Yeah.
They just were like, I don't want to be a part of this?
Yeah, I think it was
Hmm.
just and so it was just such a big change, and it was
Hmm.
becoming quite repetitive. The work
Hmm.
was becoming quite repetitive
Well,
as well.
that kind of makes sense because instead of like, I mean, I was a writer in the beginning of my career, and there's some creative gratification to sitting down with a keyboard and pounding it out and creating something versus like if you put in a prompt, it kind of takes away a little bit of the magic and the fun of it. So was that
Mhm.
it? That it was kind of like changing their job and they didn't want to do that job?
Mm, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We don't, people's situations change as well. So,
But still, I
um,
imagine, that was that a blessing in disguise or was it like, oh my gosh, how am I going to run my business now with everyone leaving?
yeah, so we went from a bigger team to just a handful, and it became quite freaky. Oh my gosh, is this all going to be on me? And it was at that point that I really decided that things needed to change, and that we needed to find a different way to generate sales. We needed to find a different way to run the business. We needed to find the right people for our team, because we now needed strategic minds, and a more flexible workforce. So it was quite a big pivot. And at the time, I was also acknowledging that social media, because of the introduction of ChatGPT, was becoming a commoditized service. Anyone could pretty much do it. There's no magic to it. And what was going to make us different, and how are we going to ride this opportunity that AI is presenting for us right now?
Yeah. And so what do? You end up developing Blackjet Autopilot, is that right?
So that's what it ended up being. At the time, we didn't really know that that's what we were doing. So it was this time 12 months ago. I had just been on a trip to Peru. My dad is getting a lot of airtime today. With my dad, I'd taken 2 weeks off the business, and no emails, no nothing, went away, and I had employed a salesperson and a new account manager to start on my return. And because we had all this extra capacity, and we were just going to go really hard on sales. What ended up happening was that the cold calling and the old ways of doing sales didn't work.
And you
We
were
all
still selling the old social media solution service. Okay.
still
Okay.
selling the old social media service.
Hmm.
And so we were trying to sell something which wasn't unique in the market, that anyone could do. And yeah, I've already told you a little bit about this. It was about November, December that year that I started to really think, what are we actually doing? Because nothing is unique on what we're doing here, and it's
Yeah.
not really working. We went away on our annual strategy retreat as a company, and we sat down and we really looked at it over a two-day period and thought, what is going to make us unique? What is unique? What is unique? What is unique? Um, what could we do to make us really stand out in a crowded market?
And what did you decide?
So there's some really big learnings from that strategy retreat. So this was December. We decided to do it the week before Christmas close. In New Zealand, if you're not familiar, New Zealand business shuts down for a really like over that Christmas period. So pretty much from mid-December through to the beginning of February, it's summer holidays
Oh,
here.
that
So
sounds awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's like a summer for us because it's warm in
yeah, it's
your
warm. And
hemisphere. Yeah.
the kids are off school and so I thought, oh, well, why don't we do our annual strategy retreat then, because we can do it as a bit of a decompress. What we landed on in the strategy retreat was this idea of, hey, well, what if we could offer a service to our clients which has a guaranteed ROI or their money back.
Mm.
So and that's where we left it. We left the strategy
That was
retreat.
it.
That was it.
That was
And
it.
that was
Okay.
like just this idea.
Phenomenal promise. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we all came back to work in January, February, and kind of floated back and thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to pull this all together? Like, what does this actually look like? If we're saying we're going to do a guaranteed ROI on your marketing or your money back, like, wow. And how are we going to do that with just selling social media? Because it comes relatively hard to, prove those results.
Yeah, because it takes time, right? You're building credibility and content, and it takes time and consistency, stuff like that. Let me just pause here. What's your anxiety level at this moment in time? I mean, you've been through a couple of businesses at this point. Your father was an entrepreneur. You have entrepreneurs around you. Are you comfortable with this change transition, or are you like kind of freaking out at this massive change in your business and people leaving?
Massive change. And when we sat there, when I sat there and thought about a guaranteed ROI or your money back, my stomach was squirming, but with this excited, nervous energy that this could finally be the offer that would make people take notice of us.
Mm.
So it was scary, nerve-wracking, and I didn't really know how we were going to do it.
You just
Yeah,
knew it would involve AI somehow
and
and
AI,
some form of social.
some form of social.
Okay, so how'd you figure that out then? How'd you figure
Yeah,
out
how
what
did
the
we
offer
get
would be?
there?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember there was a moment where we were struggling along with, we hadn't decided what the offer was going to be. We were struggling along with selling social media services. And I was really upset at that time because I was like, this is really hard going. I was literally crying on the floor at the top of my stairs. And my husband came along and I just said, look, I think social media only is flawed as a service. We're getting all these leads, but we're not really able to convert them. And it's just proving to be really, really hard. And that was when we came to he said to me, well, hold on a second. Like, what you've done in all this AI space, you've built a sales and marketing machine that's delivering leads for you, utilizing all of these tools. And, what if you could package that up and turn that into something for your clients? And I was like, oh, wow, maybe we could be onto something here. And so that's when we went full noise. We went, right, we're going to turn on our sales and marketing machine, utilizing all of our AI tools that we've got. We are going to land this offer in terms of guaranteed ROI. So I started playing with those on the sales calls and trialing it, hey, John, what if I told you that you could have a guaranteed ROI or your money back? And people started saying, oh my gosh, yes, that actually would work for me really well. And so I was proving that was going to work. Meanwhile, we're building the sales and marketing machine, which starts to deliver appointments in my calendar without having to make cold calls, without having to hustle, being able to be with my family, be working with the team. And so I'm kind of going around in stories here, but there had to be this trust from my team. Remember it was about February, I came in, I said to my team, I said, we're going to sell this. We're going to sell this. I don't quite know what this is, but we're going to sell it and it's going to have a guaranteed ROI or your money back. And by the way, we're going to do it with no ad spend.
Mm.
And so they all looked at me and said, oh my gosh, Christine, you're crazy. How are you going to do a guaranteed ROI? Do you understand the implications of this? And you don't even know what it is that you're selling.
And the hard part also about that is you're depending on the clients that you're serving being good at what they do, right? Because in order for, I assume you're not doing the actual selling for them. A traditional lead gen, you're kind of delivering the leads to them, but they got to be good at closing the leads as well, or else they don't close the leads, they don't get ROI, and they demand their money back, and it's really not your fault.
Mm-hmm. So we have started to solve that problem a little bit in terms of what is it that business, what does that business need ahead of the sales call to increase conversion? What data do they need to be seeing through live dashboards to be able to see that they're getting a return on their investment? What is each client? How many more people are coming into the funnel? So yeah, there's that piece of it. And also there has to be a bit like our story. There has to be something unique, or there has to be a strong position for us, our clients that we work with, to be able to go to market with a compelling offer, utilizing us as their essentially fractional CMO doing their marketing for them.
Yeah. And at what point did you figure out that what you've evolved this into was working? You feel, or are you even at that point yet? Like, do you feel confident in it now? Do you feel like, or do you feel like it's always gonna be a state of flux? Like maybe the new normal maybe is evolution and revision and altering what your offer looks like.
Mm. Feeling very clear in the methodology and what it's delivering and how we're doing that, but acknowledging that we will need to be keeping an eye out and keeping at the forefront of technology as it evolves. To give you a little bit more of an insight, what Blackjet Autopilot consists of is outreach. So a one-to-one conversation with decision makers of the ideal target audience that you want to work with. So we'll proactively go and tap the shoulders of the people that our clients want to work with. If for some reason they don't become an appointment at that time, we will then move them into nurturing. So through email marketing, other AI tools, we're also exploring more ways that we can do the nurturing part. And underpinned by a social media presence, which is really important for trust and authority, and looking alive. It's wild to me the amount of businesses that aren't on social media, and you go and check them out and they haven't posted in 4 months' time. So you wonder whether they're alive or even doing business. And so those three parts are the core of the Blackjet Autopilot philosophy. We do all of the delivery for our clients. They only have to turn up for an hour a month, and we do it all underpinned by dashboards and data. So for each of those parts of the system and for overall ROI, we're able to say, well, one deal. So for example, in a commercial insurance business, one client might be worth $50,000 to them in the first year.
Yeah.
But the return on investment is they're going to stay with them for 4 years. So it's actually a $200,000 client.
Yeah.
If we're able to say, well, we were able to, we only have to generate 2 of those over a 12-month period for you to get a, decent ROI on your investment with us, then it becomes a bit of a no-brainer. So,
and how long do you ask for them to commit to it? Like, do you require them to work with you for like 3 months, 6 months, a year to make sure that you have enough, time to get them those leads, get them those deals that see a return for them?
Yeah, it's a commitment over a 12-month period because it is a compounding asset.
Yeah.
We're building all of these assets for the business. And talking about financial advisors again, a financial advisor would look at their book of clients and see that every head in that book has a dollar value that's returning back. for
Yeah.
them, that's returning back for them. In the same way that Blackjet Autopilot, you put $1 into the investment over a 12-month period and you get 4, 10, 20 back. It compounds over time. So all of a sudden, we're actually building out, rather than feel our clients feeling like they're just throwing money at marketing, they're actually investing in a compounding asset that is building them wealth
Ooh,
over time.
I like the way you describe that. That's great.
Mm.
Um, I'm curious, what is it like? What has it been like describing this or explaining this to your clients, particularly the AI piece of it? Because there's different levels of awareness of of and different levels of urgency among businesses out there. So as you talk to businesses, as you explain this kind of new model that involves social media, involves outreach, involves lead generation, kind of involves different pieces. What is it like as you talk to people? Do they understand it? Do they get it? Does it require a higher level of explanation and education than your previous offers required?
Typically, the right type of person to work with us gets it, right? So
Yeah,
I don't have to explain it as much. They'll just say, oh, cool, a compounding asset that generates,
right.
$1 in 4 out. Sign me up. Like this is, I don't even need to worry about the ins and outs. I have had conversations where people have said, I'm really interested about this AI part. How are you using AI in the system? And I think sometimes we all forget that we're all using AI all day, every day. It's, the algorithms on social media is using
Right.
AI. And so we are utilizing, I also forget the number of AI tools and things that we're using. I mean, you just have to look at our subscription base on our P&L and you can see how many AI tools we're playing with at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, have I answered your question around the AI piece?
Yeah, I think there's just different levels of kind of understanding right now and appreciation of how disruptive really AI is already and will be. And it's interesting because I still like sometimes like I don't know, someone on Facebook that I'm friends with will post and say like, I don't care about AI. I think it's a waste of time. Haven't checked it out. And then like a bunch of people will respond saying the exact same thing. And I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of people who are not paying attention to this. And then other
Mhm.
times, and this is probably just kind of reinforcing based on who you're connected with, but other times someone else will post something and it seems like everyone's paying attention to it. So it's different levels of awareness, I guess, in terms of people embracing this new revolutionary technology.
And I see it just as a tool, obviously. And some of the things that we're playing with right now is if you go to my LinkedIn, I have got an AI avatar. We haven't spent a lot of time on her, Christine, the AI avatar. She's pretty raw around the edges. Her accent is some mix between British and Australian, but my mannerisms are pretty close. One of the things that we're looking to implement into my business is how can we send out, if you and I are having a sales call,
Yeah.
you know, you have a meeting with Christine, the AI avatar. So it might be something like, hey John, Christine's
Yeah.
avatar. We're really looking forward to our call on Wednesday next week. Before ahead of our call, I'll just be wanting to understand a few more things. Yada yada yada. And so all of a sudden, the avatar has gone out and added so much value to our clients. And it means that when you and I do get on a call human to human, we can really do the human work and the high value work as opposed to, those things that just, you know,
Yeah. And
probably didn't add much.
it might get to the point where our AI or our avatar and the other, our clients, prospective clients, avatar kind of get together and talk to one another and explain information, because
Uh, without a doubt. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the one like here in San Francisco, we've got self-driving cars all over the place now. We've got these Waymo cars and everything, and it's crazy because it's become very normal. And one of the things that's persuasive to me about that technology is that imagine a car that can have the collective memory of every other car on the road and see every different example out there, and then have that in our mind, like compared to us humans who were driving along and we just got our own personal experiences, and we don't, we got our own reactions based on, our human frailties, right? And so to me, that's exciting that we can have a car that can have that all that kind of knowledge. Well, the same thing could be the case with our AI too, where all that collective knowledge about our company, our services, our offerings, the benefits, all that, addressing all the common objections that you get, all that could go into an avatar that could be used for either prospecting, or I even, I see it could be for strategy, client services work too in the future, which is, it seems crazy now, but at some point in the future, it will become normal.
I don't think we're that far off. The
Yeah.
things that I'm seeing playing with right now, I can guarantee that if we had this conversation in 12 months' time, we've
Yeah.
probably done it in three.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
moving that fast right now. And it's crazy and it's scary. One of the things that also came to mind, when you're talking about the self-driving cars, we don't have that here in New Zealand yet. I
Soon
cannot wait
enough.
to
They'll be there
experience
soon. Yeah.
is the concept of an autopilot business. You're talking about an autopilot car, the car's driving
Hmm.
itself. I'm on a bit of a mission to create an autopilot business for Blackjet Social for my business, but also how can I help other businesses have an autopilot business utilizing AI? So at the moment, we're fixing. At the
Right.
moment, we're solving that problem in sales and
Yeah.
marketing. But also in my business, we've got really strong meeting rhythms and cadence and data and dashboards and systems and processes. So you utilizing really high quality, high performing teams underpinned by technology and everything. We're we're quite close to this like autopilot business
Yeah,
philosophy.
no, I think it's true. I mean, I saw some statistic a while back about like the biggest, like the largest company in the world in, like, I forget, it was like 1960s or 70s or something like that, had some massive number of employees, call it like 2 million employees or something like that. And flash forward to today, like the Googles and Metas of the world have like, I forget exactly how many, but call it 60,000 employees or like 100,000 employees. And it's massively fewer, right? And that's because of a lot of software and technology and computing power and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to see that on a small basis too for smaller companies where quote unquote small company, maybe in 2020 or 2017 would have had 20 employees or 40 employees. It could very well in the near future have two employees or three employees and generate the same amount of revenue. And that's a little bit crazy. I actually see that as a positive because I think those people will be freed up. Maybe they'll start their own company. Maybe there'll be 15 other companies that have two or three employees, and they all, rather than having to work on one particular thing all day long, like assembly line worker, they will actually get to, use these different tools and work on a lot of different things and get a lot of fulfillment out of that. So to me, that's really exciting about the world that we're living in right now.
Mhm. And that point of fulfillment, why do we do this? Why do entrepreneurs, CEOs, or even people, why do we all go to work?
Hmm.
Really, there should be that level of fulfillment at the end of it, because what's the point?
Right, right, absolutely. Christine, this has been
Mm.
really interesting. Thank you for being transparent and open and honest and sharing your journey. And I think there's going to be a lot of companies, just like yours, that are going to be going through this sort of disruption. And it's really cool and inspiring how you've embraced the change and worked your way through it. And so I love you sharing that story. I'd love to wrap up with my gratitude question. So I'm a big fan of gratitude. I'm a big fan of giving my guests the opportunity to shout out any peers, any contemporaries, maybe mentors who've been there with you in the journey. And who would you want to acknowledge?
Yeah. I wanted to acknowledge my husband, Mike. We've been on this journey together for, 16 years married now, 15, 16 years married, and as a business owner himself, and we've got our own bits and pieces outside of these businesses that we run, and our family. I know that we wanted to kind of step away from maybe just talking about being grateful for my family, but real gratitude to my husband, Mike, for lifting me up, being there through the times, and together we've completely changed our trajectory over the last wee while, and it's really exciting time. Yeah.
Really cool. Christine, thank you so much. Where can people go to learn more about Blackjet Social and Blackjet Automation or Autopilot?
Yeah, so Blackjet Autopilot, so blackjetautopilot.com or blackjetsocial.com. And I'd love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out there. But thank you so much for having me, John. It's really exciting to have just shared how much things have changed over the last 6 to 12 months. And I'm excited to see what's to come. And thank you for the opportunity to be on here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.